What drove you to creating events like SpeedTwist?
A problem I was facing, which was dating being absolutely shit.
What's the difference from a SpeedTwist event and the traditional speed dating event?
There's added twists to make sure people are getting the most out of speed dating. The metric for success is people who've had a really great evening.
What have you learned about first impressions just by watching these dates?
Stereotypical beauty standard level, but actually when it comes to their matches, they haven't got that many. And the people who come with the best energy, the best vibes, with an open heart are the people who do well.
How can you in 2.5 minutes go beyond that first impression and impacts the other person?
Questions me, what are your passions? Like, what are you passionate about today? You can't get that information from an app. You need to smell people, you need to sniff them out and get the vibe.
What are the most common mistakes that people do during speed dating events?
The kinky community.
What is the kinky community, Debs?
Are you not a kinkster yourself then? There's probably quite a lot of crossover between the kinky world and the board game world. The board game community is a very unique community with its own sort of rules and the kind of people it attracts was the same as the kinky community.
Feel free to send me an invitation when that happens. How has dating changed in the age of dating apps?
This idea that we have unlimited choice, it makes it very difficult to give someone a chance. I've got a phone with endless possibilities and I can just swipe through them and it just makes humans become disposable.
Dating apps are a business as well. So they are made in a way that they want you to put money in. I think it hurts men's ego not having that proportional return from the likes they do.
People are not approaching each other and the social skills as well required to make initiative to start conversations with people has disappeared.
If the reality today is that everyone prefers to be on a secure position, less risk, do you recommend that men and women should really approach people?
Definitely should do it, but again, it's about the how.
We all know the stories from the past, the ghosting, the catfishing. Today, 2026 and the future, what are you seeing?
For you, and I think people are more tapped into them now with this big red flags, green flags narrative.
I just need to update my profile and remove certain red flags that you just mentioned. What advice would you give someone that is going to attend the first speed dating event for the first time?
My advice would be yourself.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I'm not a convincing person. I'm not an attractive person physically. I'm not the most social, interesting person. Is it true or correct for someone to try to be themselves if they are being themselves their whole life and that did not generate any kind of relationship?
You to do a bit of work on yourself or reflection on yourself before you throw yourself into dating.
You will be compared with everyone else that I've met on that night.
You could frame that as I'm competing, or this is more information for me to gain about how a person shows up in a social environment.
What are your top 3 questions that you like to ask on speed dating events?
Paint me a picture of your perfect day, because I think that reveals a lot about compatibility on how you would like to spend your time.
Hello, Deborah. It's nice seeing you here on the show. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your courage. I know this board games thing is not your thing, so I really appreciate that you had the courage to step forward and deciding to participate and taking up the challenge. So for people that don't know you yet, you present yourself on social media as being modern matchmaker. You were also the founder of SpeedTwist in Barcelona, in Lisbon, in Berlin, and you're also known as the Disco Debs. Did I forget anything on this introduction, Debs?
No, I think that's perfect.
We are going to deep dive here on this topic, especially the matchmaker and the SpeedTwist. We are now playing Azul as well. You should have on your side an invitation to start, Debs.
Okay.
We're starting now. Let's see who is the first player. You are the first player.
Okay.
I'm going to let you choose this first one without any question on top of it to facilitate. But you know this is going to be hard.
Okay, I've done mine.
And for the yellow. Okay, good. So before we go into the topics today here, Debs, so because this is mainly a board games channel, what is your connection with board games?
To be honest, I'm probably your worst stereotype to have on this type of podcast because I don't play board games. I actually try and stay away from them because,
Wow, like a disease, stay away.
yeah, I just don't really vibe with board games. I think maybe I'm a bit traumatized from playing Monopoly as a kid with my family, and I just try and leave that behind.
Okay, I guess everyone gets a bit traumatized by playing Monopoly. That's what Monopoly does to people. Uh, but we're talking about board games, not Monopoly. That's a private joke between board gamers because no one likes Monopoly. But every
Oh,
time
really?
yeah, it's not a good reference, and probably we just lost half of our audience when mentioned Monopoly. No one likes it, and when we talk about board games, it's like modern board games, like the stuff you see here on the shelves. Um, but maybe it could be an interesting. By the end of the conversation, maybe I've convinced you to somehow add to the matchmaking events something that would include board games, because could be a good way to socialize with people, get to know people better without the pressure of 5 minutes and I need to give my best and hear about the other person, etc. But maybe who knows? Who knows? Good. Okay, so there's almost zero connection with board games, and that's fine because the guests that come into the show, I don't want more board games people. I like people with interesting projects, stories, profiles to also get to a bigger audience. So I think you have something here that is interesting to share with the world, right? Because you are you are an entrepreneur and building events, dating events. So before explaining what those events are, who is Deborah Berman behind what is visible?
So, who am I behind the facade? I say I'm quite similar to the person you see on social media,
Mm-hmm.
although when I'm not at a SpeedTwist event, I am quite introverted. Actually, I really enjoy spending time alone doing my hobbies. So, I'd say I'm very like extroverted, introverted. I love to
Mm-hmm.
chill. I love to be disciplined and do my hobbies and just have fun as well. That's what I'm all about, is being a bit silly and having fun.
You mentioned my hobbies twice, so I think you are inviting me to ask you hobbies. Oh,
Uh-huh.
so what are your hobbies?
What are my hobbies? So when I'm not doing a SpeedTwist event, I love to go to the gym. I love to play sports, paddle, tennis. I obsessed with music. I DJ. I play the bass. Those are my main hobbies. I also like to cook, which is a new thing. So yeah, lots of
Hmm.
hobbies. I'm trying to put a piece down and answer your question, but yeah, I've just done it.
So I'm gonna do the same as well, picking the piece.
Mhm.
So yeah, from your hobbies, it seems like you're more on a sporty side, the active side. So board games could be indeed move into a different direction because you end up like spending hours sitting on a table, and I see that. Okay,
Yeah.
so then what drove you to entrepreneurship and creating events like SpeedTwist?
I think I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Ever since I was a kid, I always dreamed about having my own business. And I used to create little shops in my bedroom and sell random things to my imaginary friends. My last job, which was a corporate job, it took me to get very burned out to finally decide that it was time to do my own thing and take a bit of a bet on myself, basically.
Why dating?
Why dating? Because it was based on a problem I was facing, which was dating being absolutely shit and a big
Okay.
waste of my time. And I was like, how can we all just be accepting this? How can dating be so dreadful? Like, why have I got so many terrible stories from dating, and why isn't anyone trying to solve this? And it kind of collided at a time in my life where I was looking for a project to experiment and try new things. And so it kind of just collided at the same time.
Okay. Does that mean that that bad experience that you mentioned was coming from dating apps or dating events as well?
It was just dating apps, because dating events weren't really a thing back then. I mean, there were other speed dating events, but they just looked actually horrific. As in, you would have had to pay me to go to one of those events. They just didn't look fun. And doing that research made me put two and two together and think, all right, there's a real gap for a fun event where you can meet people and get in front of people in an efficient way, whilst also having a really enjoyable evening.
So then what's the difference from a SpeedTwist event and the traditional speed dating event that everyone has an idea about?
What's the difference is SpeedTwist is literally turning boring speed dating on its head by injecting as much fun as possible. So it's the same format, but there's added twists to make sure that people are getting the most out of speed dating. They're approaching the dates intentionally, they're having fun. It's very curated and well designed so that connections can actually come about in a natural way. It's all very intentional, well designed. It's for people who want to date and also who want to show up and be themselves, basically.
Okay.
Right.
So
I'm getting my tiles sorted.
don't forget you need that second blue there for you to fill the row.
Oh my God.
I may steal those blues, so don't forget that I'm seeing your game and I may be mean and steal one of those. But I won't do that.
So I got 0 points the last round.
Yes, I'm not sure what happened because I was not looking into the scoring, but probably you scored and then you had some negatives. But we're still starting, Deborah. There's plenty of game to go, okay? And plenty of questions as well. So I'm just putting myself on the shoes of everyone that is listening, and they know, they have an idea from either going to speed dating events already or seeing on the movies, etc. And they hear your explanation of this is something different, fun, curated, etc. So in practice, can you give an example of what happens on a SpeedTwist event that really shows that difference? So I arrive there, I say my name, I get a plaque with my name that I stick on my chest, and then what happens?
So, well, it starts even before you arrive at the event. You fill out a form, and the form has a series of questions so we can understand what kind of person you are, and it requires you to be a bit more intentional thinking about why would you be a great addition at a SpeedTwist event? Why are you coming? What's interesting about you and why do you want to date? So even before you've arrived at the event, there's a sort of curation with the guests. And then, of course, once you arrive, you are thrown into the mix. So whether you're the most introverted person or extroverted, everyone is immediately thrown into the SpeedTwist experience. You're greeted by the hosts. We start with an icebreaker where everyone can meet each other in a relaxed way. And then, of course, we dive into the speed dating rounds, which have the prompts, speed and twist, which have fun dares and challenges or deeper questions to get to know each other. And then, of course, we have breaks where you get to keep mingling, flirting, and you get to decide if you want to match with someone romantically or as friends. And I am the matchmaker. So after the event, I see who's matched with who. From there, the rest is in their hands to decide how they want to continue.
So I just saw your movement here on the game. You picked those. I don't know what happened there, Debs. You picked those 6
I don't
light blue ones.
I'm finding this difficult
you
to...
send everything to the negative, so that's gonna be a huge hit. But luckily, you are on 0 yet, so you won't go to negative points. So it's the ideal time for you to get -10 or whatever points, because you just help me to get rid of that. How do you decide on the format, the time per date, the group size, the age ranges? What's your criteria?
The event is as intimate as possible. My criteria is rather quality than quantity. I'd rather have less people, but a more intimate experience where everyone gets to chat to everyone. Right now, we do different age ranges. We do for different sexualities, for different community groups. So we're really growing in the types of people that we're hosting events for. And for age ranges, we've started doing 40 plus, and we currently do a lot of 25 to 40. The target really is for anyone who's just done with dating apps, which stretches across all generations, to be honest.
From your side, the matchmaking side, the organizer side, what makes a speed dating event successful?
The classic response to that is how many matches people get. But actually, that's not the metric for me. The metric for success is people who've had a really great evening. They've met a bunch of cool new people. They've made new friends. Maybe they've learned something new about themselves, or, realized that they're more charming than they remembered, or that they remember how to flirt with people, give good eye contact. I measure success not by statistics of X person had 7 matches and now they're still dating this person. I measure it by this person had this experience and this is how it impacted them. It's kind of on a more spiritual level than the actual cold hard statistics of the numbers, basically.
And how do you know if people experience that? Do you ask everyone that participates, or?
Yes, there is feedback form after every event, but also just the feedback from people who approach me at the event at the end. They're just very grateful for the experience. Yeah, it's very contagious, I think, when people have such an interesting experience. They like to talk about it and share it. And so it's always very nice for me at the end of the event when people thank SpeedTwist for the experience and also the people that they've met at the end of the day. So, and the feedback is ongoing, it's constant. It's I'm still dating this person, or I met this person, we became best friends now. So it's a constant feedback from a ripple effect of a SpeedTwist event.
And I'm looking here at the tiles and trying to see how I'm going to manage these 6 blacks that you just offered me. Thank you for that, Debs, because that's going to go straight into the negative.
What that means.
Yes. You don't even know what it means. So it means exactly what happened to you in the previous round, that you get all those light blues. Now I need to deal with these black ones. So it's not creating a good first impression. If this was a speed dating and we were pairing, this was not going to create a good impression. You see,
not a match.
You just gave me 3, 7, 30 negative points. So yeah, you're gonna drag me to 0 to be at your level. I'm assuming here that you've done this plenty of times, right? These events, and in Barcelona, in Lisbon, in Berlin. So you may have seen hundreds of mini dates. What have you learned about first impressions just by watching these dates?
Well, they're very important, but at the same time, they're very fickle, because it really does take a long time to get to know someone.
Right.
And also, I think judging a book by its cover doesn't work, because sometimes you'll see at the event someone who's very attractive on a sort of stereotypical beauty standard level, but actually when it comes to their matches, after the event, they haven't got that many. So it's not always dictated by someone's physical appearance, it's by people's energy. And you can't really judge a book by its cover. So a first impression of someone just physically really doesn't tell you much. Often the people who come with the best energy, the best vibes, with an open heart are the people that who do well at the event and meet a lot of people. So I think first impressions, of course, they're important. It takes a long time to get to know someone, but creating that space where someone can be authentically themselves from the get-go is what I'm interested. How can we foster that environment where in 5 minutes you can give someone a good snapshot of who you are? It's hard and it's not always, a success, but I always trying to design the event to create that space for people to come and be who they are and show up as themselves in that 5 minutes that they have with the other person as authentically as possible.
From the outside, it seems like 5 minutes is a lot, but I'm sure that when you are in the 5 minutes, time just passes like this, right? So from your explanation, I felt like there is, in these 5 minutes, you have the chance to go from the first impression to your genuine self, right? But from my perspective, it's 5 minutes, but you need to split with the other person, right? And
Yes.
It's really difficult for you to have time to go beyond the first impression that you're causing. How can you, in, let's say, 2.5 minutes, because let's split time here, how can you in 2.5 minutes go beyond that first impression and really show something that goes beyond that and impacts the other person?
I think that comes down to the types of questions you're asking on that 5-minute date, questions that go beyond the superficial things that actually give an indication of someone's values or their life. For example, like a question for me, what are your passions? Like, what are you passionate about today? What's a project that you're working on right now? And in that small question, you get a very good snapshot into someone's life. And it's not also just the verbal words, it's also how people's energy, how they communicate, how they hold eye contact with you, how's their body language. All of these things can give you a good snapshot of someone, which of course dating apps don't allow. Sorry to come back to the dating apps, but it's true, you can't get that information from an app. You need to smell people, you need to sniff them out and get the vibe. So that 5 minutes, yes, it's a short time, but it's allowing people to just get in front of other people and just practice their bloody social skills, like having a conversation, listening, interacting, holding eye contact, all of these things which we're very out of practice these days because of how society is becoming more technology based.
So if I hear correctly, you mentioned talk about passions, but it was unclear, at least for me, if you're saying that you should go into the event and throw out your passions, or if you should ask other people, hey, what are your passions? Maybe it works both ways, right? If you're not asked, you just talk about your passions. Or
everyone is different. Your social skills are different to mine. How you use that time at the event is up to you. If you want to go up to someone and ask, or if you want to go up to someone and tell, that's your communication style. I just want to create that environment where people feel safe to do to talk about it in whatever style that is, even if that's like non-verbal communication, however it is, just be around people and connect. That's it, really.
What are the most common mistakes that people do during speed dating events, your speed dating events?
I really don't think there are mistakes, to be honest. I don't really believe in mistakes. I just believe that everything has a lesson or information that can help us be better. So I don't think there's any mistake. I'll say the mistake is not coming to a SpeedTwist event. Not getting your ticket. You're missing out.
What are your proudest moments when managing and creating your events?
My proudest moments. There's been so many. Like at the moment, it's like every week I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so proud. For example, the event last night in Lisbon that ran without me with the amazing Lisbon team, and I wasn't there, and they absolutely smashed it. And just feeling so proud of not only the people that come to the event, but the team that's being built and the people that this business is attracting just fills me with so much pride. But yeah, also the fact that creating more events for different communities, the LGBTQ plus community, the kinky community. I've got a couple of other things I'm working on. I'm just excited to give this safe space to as many communities to date and meet new people as possible.
What is the kinky community, Debs?
It's the kinky community.
Yeah.
Are you not a 𝘥𝘪𝘧𝘧𝘦 yourself then? You just a board games dude.
Yeah, so when you announce the board game community event, probably I'll notice that. But the kinky one, I need your help to understand what it is on behalf of the audience.
There's probably quite a lot of crossover between the kinky world and the board game world because a lot of it, a lot of it is based on kind of like unique tastes. For example, the board game community is a very unique community with its own sort of rules and the kind of people it attracts. So it's the same as the kinky community. It's people who are a bit perhaps different or in how they view sex or how they view relationships and things that they like to try and engage in. It's kind of like more refined community. It's not for everyone. And same with board games. Like for me, I'm not a board game person at all. So it's like, it's like a very strong mini communities, but the kinky one is of course focused a lot on sexual appetite, also relationship dynamics, so much. It actually comes into so many different parts of your life. It's not just about sex, it's about friendships, relationships, jobs, I don't know, like positions of power, all of these kinds of things.
Okay. Yeah, I see some overlapping there with board games. So could be a success one day to mix board gamers and kinky people. Not sure if I'm using the proper terms here. Because during board games, there's also power struggles and rules that you need to comply with. Yeah.
Yes. Consent. Which
accessories.
It's like with board games, you have to read the instruction manuals before you begin. It's like with the kinky community, you have to have very good communication from the beginning about what you're looking for, what are your expectations, what you consent to, what you like, what you don't like. I think there could be a good crossover there.
Wow. We're doing science here, psychological science today, Debs, right? And I'm just watching like the group of board gamers. So I've just bought this game and I need people to play that with me. So I need to organize an event where I convince other people to participate in this journey with the game. And maybe the same thing with the kinky people, right? They need other people to participate in some kind of challenge or new experience and different kind of journey. So I think I see the overlap indeed. Feel free to send me an invitation when that happens. I'll be glad to take a look at it.
Okay. We'll bring out your inner 𝘥𝘪𝘧𝘧𝘦, your underlying 𝘥𝘪𝘧𝘧𝘦, if it
exactly.
exists.
Let's see what's there. Let's see what's there underlying. Good. Okay. So just going back to normal speed dating events, what are the biggest challenge of a growing business in this area? Is it a logistic thing or something else?
I think the biggest challenge is for me, like I'm a business girl. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I have a good grasp I like to think I have a good grasp of how businesses work. I've always worked in businesses, in sales, in startups, in consultancy. So it's not so much like a challenge of how to grow the business. It's more how I look after myself in that process and make sure that I don't burn out in giving my all to SpeedTwist, because at the moment I'm scaling and I'm someone who's very hardworking and I can literally work. But I need to make sure that in order for SpeedTwist to grow, I also need to be having fun in my outside of SpeedTwist and be happy in my everyday life, so that it doesn't just take over, which for me is the struggle right now. Is it's going very well, but it's taking over a lot of my life. And I noticed that at times I feel very overwhelmed, and it's getting that balance right and taking care of myself so that the business can grow in the best, most creative way possible.
So our conversation has been leading to this topic. So let's put it on the table right now, which is how has dating changed in the age of dating apps?
I haven't really, on a personal level, I haven't really known dating before dating apps. That's the generation I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think being part of that generation, there's this idea that we have unlimited choice, or this illusion of so much possibility that it makes it very difficult to kind of give someone a chance or commit to someone or give things a real shot, because in the back of your head you're like, I've got a phone at home with endless possibilities and I can just swipe through them, and it just makes humans become more disposable, which I think is really, really not nice. And yeah, I think we view dating now in a way more disposable manner. And this illusion of choice leads to people not treating others with the respect that they deserved, as we're seeing with things like ghosting, which is becoming more and more common. Also, things like catfishing, showing up online unauthentically. I mean, we all do it to some extent. We obviously want to look good on dating apps, but some people just, like, it could actually be considered like pure manipulation. I think we're just missing meeting people in real life, how it should be, low pressure, fun, being yourself. I think dating apps have really just turned us into like it's a numbers game, and we're not numbers, we're humans at the end of the day.
And I agree 100% with everything that you said, Debs. I agree 100%. It's exactly the way I see. But before deep diving into that, I didn't interrupt you, but we ended the game during your conversation about your view on dating apps. And well, it's 45 points against 9. There's a bigger difference, but it was your first time, and you don't have experience with board games. Do you accept a rematch while we continue our conversation?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's go.
So about the dating apps, again, you have a quite accurate view, which resembles my view on what's happening, which is, first of all, you didn't mention that, but we cannot forget that dating apps are a business as well. So they are made in a way that they want you to put money in. So they create this idea of, they have on their side a huge pool of profiles. They have your future girlfriend, your future wife there, and it's reachable. You just need to put some money in and you'll find it, right? And then if you don't put money in, they are constantly throwing you like, hey, this person liked you, this person liked you. But if you want to see, you pay, right? And then you pay, and all of a sudden, those mysterious profiles, they don't appear anymore. And you then start not matching, you start liking. And I'm giving you the perspective of a man. I think women is a bit different, but you swipe right a lot, and there's no return. No, it's not comparable. It's not proportional with the amount of likes that you do. So basically, I think it hurts men's ego not having that proportional return from the likes they do, right? It hurts people's feelings. It's impossible for you to see all those profiles. It's the same thing that you go to a speed dating event, you fill out the form, you say, I want to meet all the 15 people, and then you get one match. That you think about what's wrong with me, right? What did I do wrong, etc. So I think, and the apps are done in a way that that's the experience that everyone is getting, mostly, unless you are that top 10%. And so when you feel like you have on your pocket that many alternatives, every time you meet someone, the person says this that you don't like, you immediately think that, oh, I don't like that, so I have these 10 other people waiting for me there on my inbox in the dating app. I don't need to invest in a relationship because I have alternatives. The illusion of alternatives is the biggest problem with dating apps. The illusion of alternatives.
Yes. And also going back to that, it's like if you are going out in your everyday life looking to date, what I noticed is when I was going out is people are not approaching each other, and the social skills as well required to make initiative to start conversations with people has disappeared. Maybe because of fear of rejection, which of course is very human, but also could be because we have this idea of we have all these profiles waiting for us when we get home. So that cute guy I like over there, I'm gonna try and find an exact similar looking version when I get home, because it's easier to talk to people through a phone than it is to approach them in real life, which is actually crazy and really sad to me that we've gotten to this point now where it's easy to just fire off a message on a keyboard than actually approach someone organically and shoot your shoot. Or even, it's not even about dating, making friends. It's everyday experiences now. Some people feel uncomfortable when other people start conversations with them, and it's like that's also seen as embarrassing these days, is to start a conversation with a random person. I hate that so much, and it just takes so much fun out of everyday life, which is those random interactions you have with different people, and we're all just stuck in this a rat race where you run your day the same, you talk to the same people every day, and there's little rooms for those pockets of spontaneity in our conversations and how we interact with people.
But let's be honest, what are the risks associated with starting conversations with people? So if you do that in work, you could be accused of harassment, right? And you could lose your job, or you could bring negative consequences to your life, right?
Depends what conversations you're having. Like, why does it have to, or why have we already made that association that starting a conversation with someone could be a reason for HR to intervene, you know?
Because of the context of our conversation. So we're talking about dating and dating conversations. So within that context, if I'm interested in someone in my workplace and I start a random conversation that is trying to go into that direction, that's a risky thing.
I think there's a way of doing things, which comes back to you asking for consent again, like just being respectful, having honest communication. I don't think there's any harm in doing things the right way. Obviously, there's a clear line between appropriate and inappropriate. But asking the person, like, is it okay, you know, if I talk to you like this, or are you enjoying this dynamic, or just checking in with each other, you know? For example, with me, I'm very myself with people. I don't really have much of a filter. And sometimes people in a work environment or an everyday environment think I'm flirting with them, but actually I'm just being nice. And it's like, let's check in with each other. Like, I'm not doing that, but I'm just being nice. And there's so many kind of miscommunications that I think can be rectified by just talking about them and being honest.
Yeah. So those gray areas is exactly the problem, right? Those gray areas, which is you are just being nice, but I perceive like, oh, this is kind of a harassment. So I think that is part of the problem. But that only happens within work environments, right? Because if you are on the street, on the supermarket, on an event, etc., and you just approach with the second intention someone, there's actually not a risk, right? It's just you may look like a weird person if the person is not interested, but you need to know how to manage rejections. You do that once, twice, you get rejected once, twice, 5 times, and then you just get used to it. And it's like that metaphor that works for many things, but I think it works for dating as well, which is if you don't shoot your ball against the goalkeeper, you won't score, right?
You have to try, and it seems that we're more and more scared of trying and talking to people and making those initial advances.
Dr. Love Debs. So if the reality today is that everyone prefers to be on a secure position, less risk, and sending message through dating apps to other people, if you want to deviate from that average and do something different that stands out, do you recommend that men and women that are out there, they should really approach people out of the dating apps?
What? Why not? Why the hell not? Why shouldn't they?
Why the hell not?
Why the hell not?
So do you think that is well seen, that's a good strategy nowadays?
I think people should do it, but it's the how. How are you doing it? How are you making the other person feel safe to also reject you? How are you making the other person feel relaxed, that they want to talk to you? I think people definitely should do it, but again, it's about the how. And especially with women, we can feel very unsafe at times when males approach us and how it's done. And I think that's where the kind of aggression can come between males and women and male, is that misunderstanding, because the guy's like, I've approached her and I want to talk to her, and I've been I've made the initiative and she's rejected me. Where she might be thinking, he's made me feel unsafe in how he's approached me, so I've had to shut this down quite aggressively, So there's that kind of friction between us because we're not communicating properly with each other, I think. And especially with men, when you are approaching women, I think it's hugely important to make them feel safe to also say no if they don't want to continue the conversation.
I guess that's the value of the events that you create, right? Because you create that safe space or that safe environment where once you step through the door, you know that everyone is there for the same intentions, right? So there's no risk of being misinterpreted or getting accused of harassment, because during those 2 hours, 3 hours, everyone is playing the same game, and that's risk-free.
I don't think it's ever risk-free with people. You can never ensure that certain outcomes don't happen. But I think the type of people that a SpeedTwist event attracts are very open-minded people. And I can't always ensure that everyone is going to be an amazing, kind person. But what I think is really helping the success of the business is the type of people that are showing up and coming, and that it attracts. And it makes me so happy and proud that the quality of the people that come, not just physically. I think this is a problem with dating events as well. It's like, I want to go to a dating event where everyone's hot. Okay, fine, do that. But also, that's not real human life experience. And we have to get out of this way of thinking from dating apps. Is like, we have types, physical types. The algorithms constantly feeding us our type on the apps, on Instagram, and dating events. People from different cultures, nationalities, with different views, beliefs, energies, they help you question, like, maybe I don't have a type, or maybe this is something I can explore. Maybe I can challenge myself in this way. And SpeedTwist is such a melting pot of different people that it helps people get away from their conceptions about who they like.
what trends are you noticing in 2026 dating culture? Okay, so we all know the stories from the past, the ghosting, the catfishing, the infinite alternatives. But looking today, 2026 and the future, what are you seeing?
I think there's a lot of new dating events popping up everywhere. And I think that shows that people are looking for face-to-face connections. They're looking for places where they can meet people in real life. So that's a big thing that I'm noticing. And I also think that people are being more intentional about how they date, what they're looking for, what kind of person. There's this big narrative now on red flags, green flags. I think people are way more aware of what kind of person they're looking for, what kind of things they're not looking for. Well, especially as you get older and you date as well, there's certain things that you learn about yourself that are not good for you or are good for you. And I think people are more tapped into them now with, this big red flags, green flags narrative that we constantly talking about.
How do you see that, or how do you know that people are more intentional?
I just feel that it's reflected in, well, especially from my experience as a woman dating, it's very important to protect yourself when you're dating and your energy and how you show up, and being more aware of people who could potentially not be good for you. And I think that's a big narrative, at least amongst women, is to be careful about how you invest your time and energy with dating. For example, there's a big phenomenon about men on apps. Sorry to go back to the apps, where they put
it's impossible to avoid.
Possible to avoid, but men put a lot on the apps. I'm looking for a serious relationship, but they're not actually looking for a serious relationship. They're using that as a piece of bait to lull women in to getting what they want out of a relationship with them. Same, I'm sure women might do it as well, but it's kind of like people have been ghosted, they've been catfished. And what does that do? It raises up your barriers, it raises up your senses to detect danger, bullshit. And I think everyone is a bit more careful about how they date. Hence why we're seeing more people choosing to be single, happily single, because dating is not always fun, as sometimes you have to learn the hard way. People
From
are
the bad experiences.
People are being more careful with their hearts, which I think is good, but also, everything in moderation. It's good to be vulnerable, but it's also good to look after your heart.
I'm going to ask you 5 minutes because I just need to update my profile and remove certain of red flags that you just mentioned. No, just joking, just kidding with you. So I can give you a huge red flag for me, which is taking a lot to play Azul. That's a huge red flag. So it's not intentional for you, but
sorry,
it's your turn, just for you to know.
Going.
Okay. Yes. Again, I think we are very aligned in the perspective we have to the current reality. Is that when you start using these apps and meeting people, etc., it really comes the good and the bad, and then it's like any other activity. You get bad experiences that change the perspective that you have for the next one and the future one, and you start creating those defenses and those barriers that you mentioned, and they exist because something caused you to raise those barriers. Okay, and then people share stories. So I've never had a dramatic case, but I heard from a friend that happens. So I also inherit that fear now myself because I know those things exist out there. At least SpeedTwist, there's not a backlog of bad experiences and stories that people tell each other yet. So it's still something that lures people to try and to experience and try to get positive results out of there. So if you are now convincing Debs, people listening, to attend your next events in Barcelona and in Lisbon, in Berlin, and by the way, the links for those profiles and for those events are in the video description if you're interested, or just to follow Debs and see where those events pop next. What advice would you give someone that is going to attend the first speed dating event for the first time?
My advice would be yourself. Come as who you are, show up authentically. Yes, you might not get a billion matches, but the matches that you do get are going to be very aligned to who you are and how you present in that moment. So just be yourself. I would say come with an open mind and open heart. You're going to meet a bunch of people from all over, different walks of life. So don't come with too many expectations other than the expectation of you're going to have a fun night, whatever the outcome is. So I would say just try and have fun at the event. Decide what your intention is. Is it, I really want to meet someone who I'm crazy about, or I want to challenge myself and see how I show up at a dating event, or I want to meet new friends, or I want to find my people. Set your intention perhaps for the event, and that way you're going to extract more value from it if you think about how you're going to show up to the event, I would say.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to challenge you a little bit, Debs, on what you just said.
Go on.
Because in theory, everything you said is true, but let's imagine the following scenario. So I am not me. I imagine someone that always through their life struggled to have a relationship. And then when the dating apps appeared, I started using them, and I'm the kind of experience that I'm getting is very few matches. And when it matches, it's people that don't interest me at all. So it doesn't provide me the necessary results. So I see your events and I think, okay, so that's something different. I can meet people in person. I have a chance to show myself. But in fact, my true self, or be yourself, I'm not a convincing person. I'm not an attractive person physically. I'm not the most social, interesting person. So I go to this event, and if I feel like I need to be myself, that won't get me any match as well. So is it true or correct for someone to try to be themselves if they are being themselves their whole life, and that did not generate any kind of relationship?
I say, if in that case scenario, if you're having very low frequency thoughts about yourself, that, like you said, I'm not attractive, what were the other things that you said? I'm not desirable.
Socially, I'm not an interesting person, etc. I don't have an interesting job.
Then I think rather than coming to a SpeedTwist event, maybe you have to do a bit more work on yourself, on where these thoughts are coming from. Because remember as well, our thoughts are passing, they're not real. So kind of doing a bit of inner work. Why do I feel this way about myself? Because if you're coming into a dating event with those kinds of assumptions about yourself, I don't think that's the healthiest way to approach any dating, whether it's on the apps. Is coming from a place of I'm not good enough is never going to get you an outcome that is aligned. And maybe before dating, it requires you to do a bit of work on yourself or reflection on yourself before you throw yourself into dating, because it is, as we've talked about, it is scary, it is vulnerable, it is hard. You do face rejection. But if you love yourself and you are happy with who you are, all of these things are a lot more easy to deal with when you're anchored in your own existence. So someone who is having those thoughts, I mean, I would suggest probably not dating if you feel like that's, I don't know though, because there's never a perfect time. Life can throw things at you. So yeah, it's an interesting question, but I think dating can be very grueling emotionally, whether it's going well or badly, brings up a lot of wounds. So you need to you need to be also working on yourself behind the scenes.
Yes, very interesting. Your answer is very interesting, because speed dating is not like there's gonna be your soulmate there. It's not guaranteed that the person that really matches with you is going to be one of them, at least one of them. And it's not quite that, right? Because you need to put that effort on yourself to prepare to look interesting, because you will also be seen alongside lots of other men or women, right? So there's also that comparing moment where I meet you in 5 minutes, but I also have met like 10 other people. So you're being compared. Although I can match and select to match with all of them, you will be compared with everyone else that I've met on that night, right? So if there was that guy that stand out, like being, hey, this is super interesting, the other ones will be seen as less interesting, less competitive, less attractable, right? So you need to be ready for that.
I think you can flip that on your head, because one thing about dating at a SpeedTwist event is where, as you said, you're surrounded by others, is you can see how this person behaves socially. How do they interact with other people? How are they presenting to others? Because that's one of the drawbacks of meeting someone individually one-on-one, is you don't get that information on how they interact with people. How do they talk to others? How do they show up? Are they consistent? How do they act with their friends? How do they act with peers? How are they in a more general way? So you could frame that as, I'm competing, or I'm one of a few, or this is more information for me to gain about how a person shows up in a social environment, which is so important in dating, is getting that information. So I think you can view it negatively. Oh, I'm competing with others, but also that's also coming from a place of ego. In life, there's billions of us. We're always up against each other. That's a mindset, is how you view the situation. Or, this is an experience and I'm getting a lot of information here. We're all competing with each other, whether we're on the apps or whether we're on a dating event.
Okay. It's like being there, watching others, how others interact, how the other man's posture, attitude, the way they dress, and you learn from that experience as well.
Exactly. And sometimes when you're dating in isolation, you're just going on one-on-one dates.
Yes.
You do not get the full picture at all of how this person is in other contexts.
You can see. Okay. It's like when you imagine that you go on Tinder and then you create a false profile as a man for you to see how other men present themselves in their profiles, and see what kind of pictures they put, what they write on their profiles. We are getting close to the end, and we had like 2 rounds to end this second game. So far it's 12-0, so there's still space for you to catch up and to score. But speaking about scoring, right? So you mentioned, in terms of good questions to ask on a speed dating event, is, for example, what are your passions, right? So what are your top 3 questions that you like to ask on speed dating events where you're on the role of participating eventually, if that happens? Debs.
Top 3 questions. I think, the first one is like, what are your passions? That gives you a great idea of what someone's about, what they're investing their energy into. I think another great question is, how do you enjoy your free time? Like, when you're not working or you have a day off, paint me a picture of your perfect day, because I think that reveals a lot about compatibility on how you like to spend your time. Some people might like to be very social. Some people like to do sports. Who knows? I think it gives you a good indication of what this person likes to do, which is very important, is compatibility. And I think as well is maybe share something that you really look for in a person, like values. What's something you really value in a person that you're dating, something that, like one thing that is really important to you in a person that you really admire or you look for, because that says a lot about the person, how they show up and what they're looking for. And it goes a bit deeper than those surface level questions of, what's your type normally, or that kind of thing. Just go a bit deeper, open questions that get people to think about things a bit more intentionally with dating.
Okay. So I'm going to continue to put you on the shoes of the ones that participate in your events and not the matchmaking that watch everything from a distance. And in that sense, for you, what would be the greatest green flag in a person?
I don't think I think you need many green flags, not just one.
Okay, you can give more than one. Yeah.
I think if there's a big green flag for me is someone who is, well, this is something I really like in a person, is that they also have projects that they're very invested in, and that they love doing, and that they have passions and they're creative. I find that very attractive in a person.
Why is that attractive? I've heard that a lot. But I guess there's a caveat there, which depends on the project, right? So if I tell you, oh, my life project is to collect Pokemon cards, probably you would swipe right immediately, swipe left immediately.
I find that endearing. I like it. I like people who have unique interests, because that is interesting. You're not like following the herd. You're doing your own thing and you're pursuing it with a lot of passion. You're a bit different. I like people who are a bit different, who just doing their own thing with confidence without worrying what other people think, and have their unique passions that they're not scared about sharing with the world.
So that's the trick. It's regardless, whatever it is, it's the confidence that you transmit when talking about it.
Or just not caring what other people think. That internal confidence. It's like, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I'm doing this because I enjoy doing this and this is my thing.
Okay.
I think that's really attractive in someone. And not necessarily that they're doing it to be the best at it, or it's just something they enjoy doing.
It's like being a rebel. I'm rebelling against the world because this is something different.
I like people who challenge also my way of thinking. Being rebelling doesn't have to be like a big rebellion, just small rebellions in your everyday life, things you choose to do differently to the norm.
Since you're opening here the book about yourself as well, I just wanted to make sure that your perspective is like your personal perspective and you like that, or you also think that that's a common trait on women that like rebel attitudes or showing off. Do you think that's transversal?
No, I think everyone is different. Everyone's looking for different things. And also it really depends on the person. I think that's the problem with this red and green flag narrative, is it just puts people in boxes. And we're all evolving people who change constantly. And for me, for example, if I dated someone who wasn't a rebel, would that be a massive problem? No, because maybe they show up with other values that I really like. So I think this red and green flag narrative is very reductive in how we evaluate potential partners.
Okay. Maybe that's the right answer for my question. Indeed.
And I think also a lot of it is based on past experience, which to some extent is useful, but not always. To what extent is this useful? Like, yes, I had a bad experience with one person who did this. I had a bad experience with one person who was a Scorpio star sign. Does that mean I'm going to write off all Scorpios in the future? Don't know.
I don't know. Depends if you believe in signs, or Depends on the what's the name? The ascendants.
That's like an example when people's like, oh no, I dated a doctor and the doctor was bad. Now I'm never going to date a doctor again. Or I dated one with green eyes and they did this. I don't really vibe with the red, green flag thing. I think it's more of like, how do they make me feel? How do I feel when I'm around them?
So I wanted to circle back to something we said some minutes ago, which is considering all this complexity of the dating environment nowadays, that you need to think about green flags, red flags, my first impression, the attitude, the confidence, etc. Indeed, seems like the easiest way for you to endure on these troubled seas is, in fact, to just be yourself. But just be yourself.
And then always. I think that's the best strategy in life, is just be yourself, and naturally that's going to gravitate towards you opportunities, people and experiences that are aligned to you. And I'm not saying it's easy to just be yourself at times, but it's a good way to start, at least, basically.
So I think that's the lesson for today. If you want to be successful in dating events, regardless if we're talking about SpeedTwist or any other, it's going to be yourself. That's going to be the best strategy for you to have or to achieve the targets that you aim to achieve.
Always.
We're getting close to the end of our conversation, and I'm just looking at the remaining pieces here for us to close. You have chosen the red one, but the red one is not placed. It's still holding there. Where do you want to put the red one? You cannot put anywhere. In that one, you cannot put anywhere, the red. Because once you have red, you cannot put. So you're going for the black ones. Okay. So luckily, you were very kind in letting me getting this light blue. So thank you. Thank you. And it's you again. You can still put the blues on your bottom row and do some points there. It's the only option for you. It's the blues, right? Everything else is blocked. So then I'm gonna take. I'm gonna be mean or not? Just be yourself, right, Debs? That's what you said.
Yeah, self.
Just be yourself. So I'm gonna be mean. I'm gonna get the reds and forcing you to get the yellow ones on the negatives, because there's no space for anything there. Let's see the final scoring then. Everyone that comes into this show, I like to ask if they could recommend the next potential guest, someone with an interesting project profile. Who would you like to recommend?
My friend 𝘱𝘱𝘱𝘱𝘱, he's a psychologist. He worked in end-of-life care, so people who are at the end of their lives and the psychology around that.
Challenge accepted. Thank you for the recommendation, Debs. To remind everyone that I've left all the links in the video description for the profiles, and through the profiles you will be able to find not only Debs but also the events that she is managing, and who knows if something near you will pop up for you to attend in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.